Welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining this deep dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare American coins. Today we explore a coin that most people pass around every single day without a second thought, a tiny piece of metal worth only 10 cents at the cash register, but in one extraordinary case valued at a staggering $661 million. This is the story of the 1986 Liberty 1 dime from the United States Mint, specifically the versions bearing the P&D mint marks, a coin that in its rarest and most error-laden form has risen far beyond its humble face value. As you settle in, prepare for a journey through hidden mistakes, mysterious misstrikes, minting anomalies, off-center impressions, missing details, doubled features, and all the wild possibilities that collectors believe could propel an ordinary dime into the stratosphere of value. What makes the 1986 dime so fascinating is not only its design, but the strange way errors can transform something so common into something priceless. This story begins with welcome curiosity but soon unfolds into a labyrinth of minting secrets, improbable survival, and the unpredictable world of rare numismatics where tiny details become fortune-shifting catalysts. The 1986 dime is part of the long-running Roosevelt DIMES series first introduced in 1946, and while the design seems simple and familiar today, the minting process behind these coins involves dozens of steps, each one an opportunity for something to go slightly wrong or dramatically wrong. Millions of coins leave the mint each year, but not all of them are perfect. A coin might be struck with misaligned dies, damage to one of the die faces, a broken letter, a doubled image, an improperly annealed planchet, an off-center strike, an over-polished die, or a mismatched die pair. The overwhelming majority of these flawed coins never reach the public. Most are caught and destroyed long before leaving the mint. But occasionally, for reasons unknown, mysterious, or simply accidental, a rare error coin slips through the cracks. And sometimes, an error coin not only escapes detection, but is so unusual that it becomes something the numismatic world has never seen before. Collectors understand that rarity is one of the greatest ingredients in determining the value of a coin. Combine rarity with historical relevance, visual uniqueness, dramatic errors, and the curiosity factor, and you get the recipe for astronomical prices. The 1986 P and 1986 D Liberty dime became the center of attention among collectors after stories circulated that an impossibly rare specimen existed with a cluster of errors so uncommon and so visually striking that it was considered the most anomalous dime in modern U.S. minting history. This singular coin, a 1986 dime with layers of mistakes compounded upon one another, sparked fascination that rippled through the entire community. When people imagine valuable coins, they often think of old gold pieces, early colonial coins, or vintage minting experiments. But the logic of rarity does not care about age in the same way people imagine. A modern-date coin can become far more valuable than an ancient one if its errors are sufficiently dramatic. The 1986 dime, in its ordinary form, is everywhere. But in its rarest erroneous form, it has the kind of mystique that numismatic legends are built from. The question becomes, what kind of errors could turn a 10-cent coin into something valued at $661 million? And how could such a coin come into being? The answers lie in the way the mint prepares dies, presses metal planchets, and handles quality control. Because even the most advanced machinery can make mistakes under extreme conditions, and sometimes those mistakes lead to coins unlike anything ever imagined. One possibility that collectors have considered is a double denomination error, one of the rarest categories in the world of error coins. This happens when a coin is struck on a planchet meant for another denomination or even on a coin that has already been struck as something else. For example, a dime struck on a quarter or penny planchet is extremely rare, but a dime struck on a previously struck coin from another denomination is even more remarkable. In the case of the 1986 dime, stories have circulated about a mysterious specimen struck on a misfed planchet that had already been used for a different denomination, resulting in overlapping design elements, ghost impressions, and distorted lettering. This type of error would be nearly impossible to reproduce intentionally and is considered one of the most astonishing minting anomalies in existence. Another possibility is the fabled transitional metal error, where a coin is accidentally struck using the wrong metal composition. In 1986, dimes were supposed to be made of a copper core and a nickel-clad exterior. But if a leftover silver planchet from a previous era somehow remained in the machinery, or if experimental planchets were used unintentionally, a mismetal dime could have been created. A 1986 dime struck in silver would already be rare enough to capture major attention. But some collectors believe that the anomalous piece linked to the $661 million valuation was struck on a planchet with unusual composition, creating a unique weight, unusual ring when dropped, and unexpected coloration under magnification. The mere possibility of a mismetal dime from 1986 is enough to ignite intense bidding among collectors, and if proven, it would be one of the most shocking modern mint errors ever found. There is also speculation around a rotated die error, which occurs when the dies used to strike the coin become misaligned so that the obverse and reverse designs do not line up correctly. A normal dime, if flipped horizontally, should show the reverse in perfect alignment. But a rotated die error can create angles of rotation such as 30 degrees, 90 degrees, 120 degrees, or even a full 180-degree rotation, something extremely rare. A dime with a full inverted orientation between the obverse and reverse would be a spectacular error worth thousands of dollars on its own. But the legendary 1986 dime associated with extreme value is believed to have had rotated dies combined with other minting anomalies, creating a rare multi-error coin that defies explanation. The presence of multiple severe errors on a single coin is what transforms it from simply rare to nearly priceless. Collectors have also explored the idea of a multiple strike error. This happens when a coin is struck more than once by the dies, either due to a mechanical malfunction or improper ejection of the planchet. A double strike or triple strike dime will show overlapping images, distorted lettering, repeated outlines of Roosevelt's profile, or partial reverses impressed at odd angles. If a coin was struck off-center multiple times, the resulting visual appearance would be chaotic, surreal, and extremely rare. A multi-strike dime from 1986 featuring multiple overlapping impressions could easily become a crown jewel for collectors. Combine this with mismatched dies or mismatched planchet composition, and the coin becomes something with no real comparison in modern U.S. mint history. Die cracks are another source of potential error. Over time and under pressure, minting dies can develop cracks or chips, leaving raised lines or missing portions of the design on the struck coins. While minor die cracks are common, major die cracks that run across the portrait, through the lettering, or across the torch and branches on the reverse are dramatically more valuable. A dramatic lightning bolt-shaped die crack across Roosevelt's face, or a shattered die causing pieces of the design to become missing, would create a coin that instantly commands attention. Some collectors have theorized that the $661,001,986 dime displayed not simply one but multiple cracking patterns, indicating catastrophic die failure during the minting process. Mint mark anomalies are also important. The 1986 dime is supposed to bear a P mint mark for Philadelphia or a D mint mark for Denver. But significant errors can involve repunched mint marks, missing mint marks, or mint marks that appear distorted, doubled, or in the wrong position. The idea that a 1986 dime could have a mispunched mint mark combined with other error categories creates an irresistible mystery. A missing mint mark alone might raise eyebrows. A mismatched mint mark such as a P over a D or a D struck over a P, though almost unheard of, could transform the coin into a one-of-a-kind treasure. A mint mark appearing twice or appearing in an unusual shape due to die wear would only strengthen the extraordinary nature of the piece. Striking pressure errors may also have played a part. In normal conditions, the minting machinery applies precise pressure to create a clean, sharp image on each coin. But if the pressure fluctuated dramatically, either too high or too low, the resulting coin could appear partially struck, heavily distorted, or overly deep in some design areas. An understruck coin may show weak features, missing lettering, or faint images, while an overstruck coin may exhibit unusually bold details, metal flow lines, or distortions in the rim. When paired with other anomalies such as misaligned dies or double strikes, inconsistent striking pressure can lead to some of the strangest mint errors ever documented. The theory that truly ignited imaginations, however, was the possibility that the $661 million dime contains a combination of these errors layered all at once. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me in this deep dive into one of the most unbelievable and astonishing coin stories you will ever hear. Today, I want to bring you into a journey that feels almost impossible, a journey into the world of pocket change, rare treasures, and mysteries hiding in coins we handle every day without thinking twice. As surprising as it may sound, sometimes a simple piece of metal, small enough to forget in your jeans pocket or leave in your car, can be worth a fortune beyond imagination. And today's story centers on an American dime from 2003, a tiny coin worth just 10 cents at face value, yet in some rare and almost mythical circumstances, collectors believe certain error varieties could command offers reaching up to $468 million. This isn't a casual exaggeration, nor is it a number pulled from thin air just for shock value. What you're about to hear is a combination of numismatic mystery, extreme rarity, minting anomalies, and the wild possibilities that have created legends around this particular year, this particular mint, and this particular coin. Before diving deeply into the details, think for a second about how many dimes cross our hands each year. We use them to pay for parking meters, vending machines, small change at stores, or maybe we drop them on the floor and don't even bother picking them up. Yet among the billions of coins that the United States Mint produces, once in a blue moon, something goes wrong during the minting process in a way so unique, so dramatic, or so unusual that it transforms that tiny coin into a one-in-a-billion treasure. The rarest coins become something like art pieces, historical anomalies, and impossible collectibles all rolled into one. And this is what brings us to the 2003 D Liberty dime, a coin that has gained a legendary reputation in collector circles, not because every 2003 D dime is valuable, but because the combination of potential errors, mint mark misplacements, unexpected striking mistakes, and mechanical failures has created an aura around it that refuses to fade away. And so today, we will explore every layer of this mystery. What makes a dime like this worth so much more than its face value? What errors do experts think might exist? What mistakes during minting make such coins highly sought after? Why do collectors whisper about this particular year and mint mark? And how could a single 10-cent piece end up being worth an estimated $468 million in the rarest of rare conditions? To understand all of this, we must step inside the world of minting, coin production, mechanical misalignments, die malfunctions, and the unpredictable nature of human and machine error. Let's begin with the basics of the 2003 D dime itself. This coin, minted in Denver in 2003, features the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the front, a design used consistently since 1946. On the reverse, a torch stands prominently between an olive branch symbolizing peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength. Millions upon millions of these coins were struck that year. Under normal circumstances, none of these dimes should be worth more than their 10-cent face value. The mint runs precise machinery built to eliminate mistakes, to produce uniform coins that should look identical to one another. But perfection is rare, and machinery, no matter how advanced, cannot escape occasional flaws. And when an error occurs, especially at the Denver Mint with its high-speed production lines, it may go unnoticed until a small number of coins slip into circulation with anomalies unseen in the vast majority of others. One of the major sources of rare value comes from what collectors call die errors. A die is the engraved metal piece that stamps the design into a blank coin. If the die has cracks, breaks, chips, or premature wear, the resulting coins may show strange lines, raised bumps, distortions in the portrait of Roosevelt, or missing details in the branches or lettering. In a normal situation, such errors are minor and might increase the value of a dime from 10 cents to a few dollars. But in some extremely rare cases, a die can break dramatically, creating what is known in the numismatic world as a major die break or even a die collapse. When this happens, the coin might show a massive raised metal blob, an incomplete portrait, missing inscriptions, or a dramatic rupture on the surface. These types of errors can turn a dime into something so rare that collectors begin bidding wildly for ownership, but the rumored $468 million value does not come merely from a small die break. It comes from a combination of multiple errors, layered at once, which would be beyond extraordinary. Some collectors theorize that a mythical version of the 2003 D dime could contain a die break, a double die error on both obverse and reverse, a misaligned strike, an off-center strike, a wrong planchet strike, and a mint mark punch error all in a single coin. It's the numismatic equivalent of lightning striking the same point not once, not twice, but several times in a row. While no authenticated specimen has surfaced with all of these errors simultaneously, the mere possibility fuels the legend. And if such a coin ever did appear, no one could predict the price ceiling. It could exceed the wildest expectations. So let's break down each error that collectors believe could exist on a 2003 D dime and why each contributes to such an astronomical potential value. Some of these errors are well documented in other coins from different years, but combining them into one piece would create a once-in-human history numismatic treasure. First, consider the double die error. A double die occurs when the die itself receives its design more than once, slightly shifted or rotated between impressions. When coins get struck using such a die, the images appear doubled. You might see Roosevelt's I doubled, the date doubled, or the lettering showing a ghostly second outline. On the reverse, the torch, branches, or inscriptions like United States of America or one dime could show dramatic doubling. Known double die coins from other years can sell for thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on severity. The famous 1955 double die cent, for example, is one of the most iconic and valuable coins ever discovered. But for the 2003 D dime, no major double die has yet been officially confirmed. This means that if one ever emerged, the rarity would be staggering. Next, there is the off-center strike, another error that can drastically increase value. During minting, if the blank planchet is not perfectly centered under the die, the resulting coin may be struck off-center. A slight off-center strike of maybe 5% is common and worth little. But a dramatic off-center strike of 50% or more, especially one where the date and mint mark are still visible, can make the coin exceptionally valuable. For the 2003 D dime, an off-center strike combined with other errors would be priceless. Imagine a dime struck so badly off-center that half the design is missing, yet the date and D mint mark remain. Collectors live for such anomalies. Now consider the possibility of a wrong planchet strike. A planchet is the blank metal disc that becomes a coin. If a dime dies strike a planchet meant for another coin such as a penny planchet, a foreign coin planchet, or even a defective blank, the result is a rare and exciting mint error. Wrong planchet coins can sell for thousands or tens of thousands depending on rarity and condition. A dime struck on a copper planchet, for example, would look reddish and weigh differently. A dime struck on a steel planchet from another country could have magnetic properties and unusual coloration. If a 2003 D dime were struck on a wrong planchet in combination with doubling, off-centering, and die breaks, this coin would defy all known categories of minting errors. Another potential error is the misaligned die strike. During high-speed production, if the dies shift out of alignment even slightly, the coin can show a design that seems shifted upward, downward, or sideways. Sometimes the rim on one side becomes unusually thick while the other becomes thin. If this occurs alongside other errors, the coin becomes even more extraordinary, but perhaps the most intriguing and rumored error of all is the mint mark error. The D mint mark on the 2003 dime indicates it was produced at the Denver Mint. In earlier years, mint marks were hand-punched into the dies, leaving room for mistakes such as repunched mint marks where the letter appears doubled or tripled. But by 2003, mint marks were added during die creation at the master die level, making traditional repunched mint mark errors much less common. If a modern coin like the 2003 D dime exhibited a mint mark error, it would be a spectacular find. Theories range from a misplaced mint mark position too high or too low, to a sideways D, to a distorted or partially missing mint mark caused by damage to the die. Any of these anomalies could send collectors into a frenzy. There is also the possibility of dramatic die cracks, cuds, and retained cuds. A cud is a type of error where a portion of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin.